Welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. And here's the queen herself, registered dietitian Heather Klug.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Queen of Hearts podcast. I'm Heather Klug, registered dietitian with the Karen Yance Women's Cardiac Awareness Center. And with me today is Bethany DeBrew Adams, our health communications coordinator. Hello, Bethany.
Hello, Heather. Let's talk about fruits and vegetables.
That's right. So for part 2 of the summer produce series, we're going to highlight raspberries and cruciferous vegetables.
I felt like there should have been a drum roll there, and I totally missed that moment. I should have given you a drum roll.
We're also going to talk about what to look for when buying them and then storing them, and of course, our favorite ways to eat them.
Yes, this is a good one for me because I love both raspberries and some cruciferous vegetables. I can't say I like them all, but some of them. So I want to take this moment and remind people to check out your summer produce series cooking videos on our Karen Yance Center YouTube channel. If you are looking to use this produce this summer when you're stopping by the farmer's market and picking up all this fresh stuff.
Yes. I just did a video on a raspberry balsamic vinaigrette, and I think you just posted the broccoli cauliflower salad too,
I
right,
certainly
Bethany?
did. It just went up.
Yep, that will even get the picky eaters in your life to maybe eat those kind of veggies.
Which is impressive. If you can get kids to eat broccoli and raw broccoli at that, which is what you use in that video, that's big. So let's dive a little bit further into today's topic. We're going to start with the favorite, which is the raspberries. So what should people look for when buying raspberries? I know what I look for, but why don't you tell me what you look for?
Well, right now is the best time to buy raspberries. I'm sure you know that if you've been out in the store, right?
Or pick them if you have
Or
means.
pick them. Yeah, my neighbors have raspberry bushes. They just gave us a bunch of them. They're so good.
Nice.
But midsummer through early fall, great time for raspberries. Although you can also buy them year-round in frozen form.
Right.
I do that too. But really inspect the container they come in. Look for firm, plump, bright-colored, and fragrant raspberries, and then look for signs of mold. Obviously, don't get those. Look all around. Flip the container around.
To my husband, flip the container over because
Be a flipper.
Be a flipper. We've had some pretty sad raspberry experiences this year where they look really good on the top, and I swear you take one out and you find the mush underneath. Gross.
Yeah.
And nothing ruins it quicker than that.
I know.
Mushy.
All you need is like one yucky berry in there and it ruins the rest of them.
Yeah.
Right?
So say you go to the store, you got yourself a nice batch of raspberries. How should they be stored once you bring them home so they don't get gross?
Yeah. So raspberries, like most other berries, you should keep them in the refrigerator.
Okay.
And usually you can just keep them in like the little box or a container. And you want kind of small holes in those. Okay?
Is this a good time to look for any spoiled berries?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't think to do this. And in fact, they don't last very long, only a couple days. But usually for berries, before you just put them in the refrigerator or after you put all your groceries away, maybe come back, take the raspberries out or any other berries and look through them and take out any that might be bad. Because again, at the store, I don't know how they do it, but they always put the good looking ones on top.
Right.
And then you maybe have a couple yucky ones either in the middle or on the bottom. Get those out of there because again, any kind of moldy sort of berries are just going to end up ruining the rest of them.
And it happens fast.
It happens super fast. So make sure you get them out of there as best you can. Okay. And again, raspberries, very perishable. They only last like a day or two pretty much. So if you don't plan to eat them quickly, I would suggest freezing them.
Yes.
Okay. And then similar to other berries, if you're going to freeze them, lay them out in a single layer on a rimmed baking sheet. And then you're going to freeze for several hours or overnight. You want to freeze them in singular fashion, right? So they're not clumpy. And then once frozen, you're going to transfer them to a baggie, remove as much air as possible.
And I should mention you're not supposed to wash the raspberries until you're ready to eat them, correct?
Correct. Absolutely correct. They retain too much moisture.
Yeah,
and
they'll
then
get really soggy and gross. So before we get into the fun part about how we like to eat our raspberries, since we are a podcast focused on heart health, I'm guessing there are some heart health benefits to raspberries.
Oh, you got it, Bethany. So not only are raspberries one of the most popular berries in the world, they are also one of the top sources of soluble fiber.
Ooh.
There are 8 to 9 grams of fiber in just 1 cup of raspberries, and for only 65 calories. So that's a huge bang for your buck right there.
I'd like to add that this is the time of year where I bring about a cup of raspberries in with my lunch every day.
Ooh, yes. That's great.
So I'm getting all that soluble fiber. So for those out there who don't know, what is the benefit to all of that soluble fiber?
Yeah. Think of soluble fiber as a sticky gel-like substance.
That is so not how I think of soluble fiber.
As it's floating through your digestive system, it's going to grab onto cholesterol in your small intestine, and it prevents cholesterol from entering your bloodstream and traveling to other parts of your body.
Like your heart, obviously.
Correct. Then cholesterol, instead of going back into your bloodstream, it's going to attach to the soluble fiber, right? And then it exits your body through your feces.
That is gross. But interesting.
I tried to say that with a straight face.
I mean, okay, we should tell you we had a conversation about fiber and poop earlier today, so it seems like there's been a lot of poop talk with Heather.
Yeah, I know. I always seem to bring it back to the poop. Well, what can I say? This is how the body works.
Yeah, it is.
I just went
Everybody poops, right?
I just went through this with my daughters because they're like, gross. But I mean, we eat healthy food. Our body takes the good stuff it needs from that, and then it eliminates what we don't need, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it goes. I just want to add that the main number you'll see go down if you eat raspberries and other berries regularly is the lousy LDL cholesterol.
Okay.
In fact, eating 10 to 20 grams of soluble fiber each day can lower LDL cholesterol by 18%.
Wow, that's
Yes.
awesome. Any other ways that raspberries are good for your ticker?
Yes. Raspberries are also high in a type of antioxidant called anthocyanins, and epidemiological studies show that high anthocyanin intake reduces oxidative stress and inflammation, which helps lower risk of heart disease.
Yay!
Some studies have also shown anthocyanins to prevent platelets from sticking together and in also releasing nitric oxide, which dilates blood vessels and allows them to relax, and this lowers blood pressure.
We've talked about that before with some of these other fruits and vegetables.
Raspberries, like all berries, are also in the moderate range for the glycemic index, which means they don't raise your blood sugars as readily.
Okay.
I think the soluble fiber helps with this also, to be honest.
So what you're saying is I can just go out, pick a whole mess of raspberries and just sit down and go to town and eat as many as I want, right?
How did I know you were going to ask me that question?
Because I like raspberry. I especially like fresh raspberries.
No, I've been known to probably eat a whole, pint of that stuff myself.
Well, when you're
at a
picking them
sitting.
too, think about when you're picking them, it's like one for me, one for the basket, one for me, one for the basket.
Yeah. Now, I will say you can eat a little more raspberries and other berries compared to other fruits because the calories and carbs won't add up as quickly. Okay, as compared to other fruits. However, I would still recommend a reasonable amount of portion
You
control.
have to say that.
I know I do.
That's you're legally obligated to say that.
Yes. I guess.
I'm a dietitian. It has to be portion
I guess
control.
so, but it's true though,
Yes.
right? Most things come down to, okay, you can eat them, but watch the amount.
Exactly. I mean, it's difficult to practice portion control, but I think we can do it. So let's discuss my favorite part next, which is actually eating the raspberries. So what are your favorite ways to eat raspberries, Heather?
Well, I love them in their pure naked form.
Do you?
Well, you know what I mean. In their
Yes.
pure form, right? I just like to eat them by themselves. I think I mentioned my neighbors have raspberry bushes, and they brought over fresh raspberries last week. Oh, they were so good.
Yeah.
They were so delicious. I also like to top off my oatmeal with raspberries when they're in season, or I mix raspberries with other fruit. And then frozen raspberries we tend to use in our house for smoothies. Sometimes we use them to make fruit popsicles. I've also put them in infused water before to give that a little bit of flavor. And then you could also substitute raspberries for strawberries in that homemade strawberry frozen yogurt video I did
I
last
suppose
month.
you could.
Right?
And then for that raspberry balsamic vinaigrette, you also used, it looked like they were frozen raspberries.
Yes. You can use fresh or frozen in that recipe, right? If you want a more pinky color, you use the frozen raspberries.
Okay.
The fresh raspberries would give you more of like a reddish kind of color. So it depends on how you want it to look in the end or maybe what's available at the time.
Sure.
How do you like to eat raspberries, Bethany?
Okay, you're going to laugh because this is another one of those things where I'm kind of weird about my food.
Okay.
And I like, just like you, like the pure naked form of raspberries. I like straight up fresh raspberries, maybe with a little bit of sugar on them or whatever. But that's it.
Okay.
I don't like them in things. I don't like raspberry jam. I don't like...
Because of the seeds, maybe?
There's just something about them, I think, when they're cooked or processed or whatever, that I just don't like very much, and I don't know why. I will eat them like the way my mom makes strawberries for strawberry shortcake, where you just put a little sugar in and then you mush them up and let the juices come out.
Yeah.
I'll eat them like that, maybe over a little bit of ice cream or whatever, but I just prefer them just straight up plain raspberries.
Hey, that's the healthiest way to eat them, so that's fine.
Hey,
as long as you eat them.
There's something that I'm eating the healthiest way.
Woohoo!
Good
All
for
right.
me.
Way to go, Bethany.
All right, so let's talk next about cruciferous vegetables, since they are also in season during the summer here in Wisconsin. So I know, obviously, we talked about broccoli, cauliflower. So which other vegetables fall into the cruciferous category?
Yeah, so cruciferous veggies. So we mentioned broccoli, cauliflower, but there's also Brussels sprouts.
Your fave.
Yeah, not my favorite, but I'm learning to like them. Cabbage, kale, arugula. I just like saying that one.
Arugula.
Every time I see that word, I'm like, arugula. Arugula, bok choy, collards, watercress, and radishes.
Okay.
And here's a fun fact for everybody. Yep. Cruciferous comes from the Latin word cruciferae, which means cross-bearing, because the 4-petaled flowers on these veggies resemble a cross.
Crucifix.
Yes.
Cruciferae. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing here that there are heart benefits to cruciferous vegetables as well. I'm thinking of the first one is fiber.
Yes, you got it. So similar to raspberries and other berries, cruciferous vegetables are also great sources of soluble fiber, so they too help lower total and LDL cholesterol. Findings from a research article published in the Journal of the American Heart Association showed that the more cruciferous veggies older women ate, the less likely they were to develop atherosclerosis or clogged arteries.
Oh, so how many vegetables did they have to eat?
Yeah, so in the study, they had it at different levels, but they found they really got a lot of benefit when it was 3 or more servings a day.
Okay.
Now, that sounds like a lot.
Right.
But keep in mind, a serving is a half a cup. So those 3 servings can add up quickly.
Sure. So I'm guessing the soluble fiber helps because it's going to clear out that harmful cholesterol like you mentioned. But are there any other factors at play besides the soluble fiber?
We don't know for sure, but I would guess the high amount of antioxidants and phytochemicals help in this regard since they reduce inflammation, right? And anytime we can reduce inflammation, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There are also naturally occurring nitrates in cruciferous veggies, which bacteria in our mouth turns into nitric oxide. Now, I mentioned nitric oxide before with the raspberries,
you did.
too. Remember, nitric oxide is what relaxes blood vessels and helps them dilate.
And that equals lower blood pressure.
You got it, Bethany. Now, while all vegetables contain nitrates, cruciferous veggies and other leafy green vegetables are the top sources.
All right, so we need to eat more of these veggies.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
So any buying or storage tips for cruciferous veggies? I know from experience, though, that these last longer than raspberries.
Yes, that is true, and that's a good thing, I think, for most of us. The buying tips are similar to other things we discuss with produce. So visually scan the vegetables, look for good color throughout, right? Avoid produce that's wrinkly or shriveled looking. For the leafy greens like kale and arugula, avoid greens that have brown or slimy spots or yellowed kind of leaves. Look for brightly colored, firm leaves.
I would also add, if you're looking at broccoli or cauliflower, make sure it's not rubbery.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get that broccoli that just kind of wobbles, and that doesn't seem very fresh.
Or with the broccoli, when it starts to look kind of like almost purplish, that's usually a sign it's getting kind of older. Right.
I did not know that, but that's good to know.
Right? You want it to be like a nice green color.
Gotcha. So what are your tips for storing them once you bring those vegetables home?
Yes. Broccoli and cauliflower are easiest. You can store them in the crisper in a plastic bag with a little airflow, so you don't have to worry about like tying the bag off or anything.
Sure.
They should last about 1 week in the fridge, and then just rinse them before cutting and using in recipes.
Okay.
Now, leafy greens like the kale and the arugula and bok choy and all of those, they're a little more work to keep fresh. If I buy them fresh, I like to use paper towel on the bottom.
Again with the paper towel with you.
I know, but it's a really nice trick to get these leafy greens to last longer. So I put paper towel on the bottom and then the top of the storage container to keep them fresh.
Oh.
You can rinse and dry leafy greens with either a spinner or paper towels before storing, or rinse and dry as you go, as you want to eat them. The trick to keeping the leafy greens to last longer is to really just keep that moisture away. So that's where the paper towels kind of come in.
Sure. I'm also noticing that you're saying if I buy a bag of lettuce, I should probably take it out of the bag of lettuce and put it in a different type of storage container.
You can if you want to.
Okay.
That's up to you. Again, if you're going to eat it right away or the next day, you probably don't need to do that. But if it's going to sit in there for a couple days, I would either open it and get the paper towel in there to absorb some of the moisture, or sometimes I have taken it out of those bags and I'll put them in my own Ziploc bag, or I have some of those that I can use over and over and over again.
Sure.
And I will stick paper towel in there, and then I'll go through and I'll take out any
funky
greens,
pieces.
that are starting to look kind of yucky, and I'll leave the good ones and put them in that new resealable bag, if that makes sense. But I don't close it. You want a little bit of airflow in there.
You're making just a little more work for me when I get home from the store.
I know. They're a little more work. And to be honest, I don't always go through all of that. Again, if I know I'm going to be eating something in the next day or two, I don't go through all that. But if I know I'm not getting to it for a few days, I want to make sure they're still going to be nice and crisp by the time I get to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I don't want to make too much work for people, because then you'll feel like, well, I'm not going to buy those.
Right, forget that.
For hardy greens like kale and Swiss chard, I'd recommend stripping the leaves off the stem. And if you need a little trick for this, especially with kale, because they're usually pretty big, you'll see the stem and then there's leaves on both sides, right? What helps is if you fold that over so the stem is kind of like right in the middle, and then you can take a paring knife and just cut it right along there, and it strips it away, and then you're just left with the leaves, okay? And then you're going to cut the leaves into like 1/2 inch or 1 inch pieces, and then you're going to rinse them. Okay? It's a little easier to do that way. And then you store them, place, again, the paper towel.
If the paper towel companies are listening, excellent opportunity for a sponsorship right here.
Yeah. So place a large piece of paper towel inside a plastic bag and then add your rinsed and dried prepared leafy greens.
Okay, so do you ever buy bagged leafy greens or greens in containers that they say they've been washed, or they say they've been triple washed?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I mean, they're just so convenient. And I'm sure Chef Stacy would probably yell at me because I don't wash them. I know she does. I know she does. She's like, oh, even though they say triple washed, she thinks, you still need to wash them. But I feel like
she also has a salad spinner, which I don't own, and I'm not going to go out and buy one.
Yeah, I do, but I don't always use it maybe as much as I should. I'll be honest, everybody, I don't wash those.
Yeah.
I normally don't. I mean, if I have company over, I do, because I want to be...
We're revealing secrets here on our podcast today.
I want to be extra careful if I have people coming over to eat.
Yeah.
But I don't know why that is.
You don't want to give them food poisoning.
Right? My own family, I guess I don't care about giving food poisoning, it sounds like, but
I give it to my kids. But...
I've never really run across an issue with that at home.
Okay.
I have from a fast food place. I won't say the name of the place when I ate a salad. It was not a good experience, but I've never had that issue at home. Maybe I've just been lucky, but no. I mean, the other thing I do, I buy the brands that are more locally grown and packaged locally. I don't know why. I just feel like that's a little bit safer. It hasn't traveled as far.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's a little fresher, maybe.
Yeah. And then when I bring them home and don't, again, plan to eat them right away, I do open them and put the paper towel in the bags or the containers to absorb that moisture.
So let's talk about how we were going to eat these cruciferous vegetables.
That's right. All right, I'll start with broccoli. So this is one of the vegetables that I don't care for raw.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I will never eat raw broccoli.
I don't know what I can, all right? But I just don't like it as much unless there's a dressing on it, like in that broccoli cauliflower salad video.
I don't like the frondy top, like the little beads on the top or whatever. They just don't work with me when they're raw.
Yeah, my older daughter's a little more picky, and to her, she says they taste like kind of peppery or just too sharp or something like that.
I just don't like the texture, I think. Yeah. It's too crunchy.
Yeah. So my favorite ways to eat broccoli are steamed. Love them that way.
Me too.
Mostly plain, but sometimes I drizzle a little olive oil and herbs on them. And then I also like broccoli roasted in the oven with olive oil and a little salt and then some Parmesan cheese sprinkled on top.
I think we need to bring back roasting vegetables.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things that I don't think we think about. Like, whenever I think I'm going to make vegetables, it's usually steaming. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to cook them. But roasting just brings out a whole other level of flavor.
And it doesn't make them mushy, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Even though they're cooked at a little higher temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a nice texture.
And you get a little of that char on there, and it almost makes it a little nutty.
Okay.
It's because I like my broccoli the way you like your broccoli. Mm-hmm. I also like it steamed and mixed in some macaroni and cheese.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring in cheese somehow. I thought you were going to say cheese sauce or
covered
something.
in cheese.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my dad used to make steamed broccoli with hollandaise sauce. So that was probably the closest I had to having cheese on it.
Yeah.
But broccoli is a vegetable that I really just love the flavor of once it's cooked.
Yeah, me too. I don't like it when it's mushy though, when it's overcooked.
Yeah, I don't like that either. You find that in restaurants a lot.
But steamed or roasted, I really like.
Yeah.
All right, how about we move on to cauliflower? Now, I can eat this vegetable raw.
Not me.
But I also like it steamed and roasted as well. And then I also love riced cauliflower. Okay. And I do that with sauteed onions and some garlic and lemon juice. I think I'll make this one for a future video.
Oh, that would be good.
I really like this recipe.
That would be good because I don't ever think about using cauliflower rice for anything but a rice substitute.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm making Chinese food type thing where I'm going to have rice, I usually will just cook up some cauliflower rice instead.
So you'll put it over the cauliflower rice. Well,
yeah.
You can do that too. That's fine.
But I would not think to just make some cauliflower rice and season it like you do.
Oh, okay. And that would be like a side dish, right? So you'd have that instead of we'd have that instead of brown rice or instead of a baked potato or something like that.
Right. It's your starch for
it's my
starch for the evening.
Even though it's not starchy, I kind of count it as my starch.
Yeah. And like you, I like it roasted. I don't steam it very often. Mm-hmm. But sometimes even just sauteing it in a little bit of olive oil just to soften it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't, again, it's the texture of the cauliflower when it's crunchy. You could dip it in, cheese, ranch dressing, whatever. It's just not going to work for me if it's raw.
All right. Well, how about we move on to my favorite vegetable, Brussels sprouts?
Yay!
Kidding.
Because I love Brussels sprouts and you just don't even.
Yeah, and I don't know what my deal is with it. I think it's mostly I don't like the smell of it. I think it
can be a little
pungent
or
much. And I did not grow up eating them. So this is one of those vegetables I've had to learn to sort of start to explore a little bit more. Okay. But I've learned I like it in salad mixes because there's that
she likes
sweet
it when
kale
she
mix.
Can't see it.
Yeah, it's cut up into smaller pieces. And it's mixed with other ingredients. So then I don't mind it as much. And then I also found I like it when it's shredded. And then if it's cooked a little, like I'll saute it with a little olive oil, garlic. There's a little bit of orange juice in there, some roasted almonds and craisins. So you get a nice mix of different flavors.
Okay.
I usually make that dish like around Thanksgiving or
Yeah, it sounds like a
Christmas.
holiday.
Yeah. So I'll have to make sure I do this for a future video too. And then I want to try them roasted at some point.
They're really good.
I've heard
Oh my gosh,
good.
they're so good roasted. You could just eat them like potato chips.
How about you make them, you roast them, and I'll come over and try them.
Okay. You could probably smell them from my house. I'll just Heather and I don't live that far from each other. I'll just waft it over to you. Brussels sprouts are one of those that, again, I don't do steamed because I think there's too much room for error with steaming Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
They're really good roasted. The way I used to make them all the time before we discovered roasting them, because my husband just loves to roast them, my dad would always trim the bottoms off and then cut a little X on the bottom to kind of get that woody part of the stalk cooked as well.
Okay.
And we put a little bit of olive oil in the saute pan and cook them for a little bit just so they brighten up and green up. And then you just put a little bit of chicken broth in there and simmer them in the chicken broth until the chicken broth is absorbed into the Brussels sprouts, and it just softens them. It gives them a little bit of a milder flavor. You could add you can't add a little butter, but people can add a little butter if you like having them a little fancier.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll chop up some onion or maybe put a little bit of bacon bits on the top if it's a holiday or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, my husband and I just love Brussels sprouts, and I have to tell you, when I bring them for leftovers for lunch, Heather has the microwave in her office and she will yell at me, "Oh my gosh, are you making Brussels sprouts today?"
Because it will make my office stink for the whole afternoon.
If I could find a way to not do that, I would, but
I know.
It
I
is
shouldn't
what
yell
it
at you
is.
for eating a healthy vegetable,
right? You should be supporting me.
I know. I'm sorry. I just have to smell it then. I'll get some air freshener or something next time. All right. Last category, just sort of talk about, we don't have time to talk about every single cruciferous vegetable, but some of the other more popular ones, kale, arugula, and cabbage. I mostly eat these in salads, I guess I
too.
would say, so nothing too fancy there.
Right.
I've tried kale chips, and I just don't care for them. If you like them, great. I just didn't like the taste or flavor of them.
Yeah, I'm not a big kale fan, but I have had roasted cabbage, and roasted cabbage is actually pretty tasty
Okay,
too.
maybe
You just cut, because it's so dense, you just cut it into steaks.
Oh, yeah.
And brush a little olive oil
Like
on.
people do that with cauliflower too.
Yeah, and you can just roast it. So, something for food for thought for everybody
Yes.
out there. A little different.
All right. Well, very good. Well, I hope all of you listening learned more about raspberries and cruciferous veggies today, and that we've inspired you to buy these healthy foods and prepare them at home.
Yes, go out and do that. So don't forget to check out Heather's Summer Produce Series cooking videos and our other heart healthy content on our Karen Yantz Center YouTube channel. And of course, we'd like to remind you to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our fantastic heart healthy content. It's got our podcast on there. It's got cooking videos on there. It's got mental health information on there. Just lots and lots of good stuff.
All right. Thanks for listening today, everyone. And as we always say, be the ruler of your own heart. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Queen of Hearts podcast. Our podcast is recorded here at the Karen Yantz Women's Cardiac Awareness Center inside Aurora St. Luke's Medical Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For more heart-healthy tips, info, recipes, and more, visit our website at www.karenyantzcenter.org, like us on Facebook at Karen Yantz Center, and follow us on Pinterest. If you like what you hear, subscribe to our show and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time, ladies, be ruler of your own heart.